Hey everyone, welcome to SkyPi. I'm your host, Pi, and I am joined with my sister and chase partner, Amber. Well, when she's got the time off, yeah. Anyway, this is going to be a show about weather news. We're going to be taking deep dives into weather events, and we're going to look at damage surveys. We're going to look at radar loops. We're going to be looking at Ghost 16. We're going to be sharing video links, and we're going to just be giving insights on just how these weather events affect people. And we'll look at forecasts a little bit, but quite frankly, we'll just be leaving those up to the actual meteorologists. So why should you listen to what two weather nerds have to say? Well, I mean, other than just how often we were talking about the weather with one another, I mean, you should see our text chat history. But we'll start by just telling you our stories, just have you guys get to know us, like how we first got interested in weather. And once we get into our groove, we're going to start live streaming these to give you the most up-to-date weather events. And then by then we should be able to have a better camera setup and everything. So Amber, let's start with your story. Why did you start caring what happened outside?
Well, so I'm the bigger sister in the family, and Billy's my little brother. We're about 8 years apart, but I always remember our parents getting excited about thunderstorms in Great Falls, Montana.
Oh, yes.
And we would grab lawn chairs, set them out on the front lawn. We'd all sit in a little row, watch that thunderstorm coming towards us.
Yeah, and of course, my love language is quality time. So, of course, anything with the family, I just love to. So.
But after college, I moved out to Colorado for a job and realized there are way cooler storms in Colorado. In fact, I stayed with a couple here, and they're like, you're obsessed with storms. Like, I would get excited when thunder started to rumble outside.
Now, surely Minnesota, where you went to school, had better storms than Montana, right?
I was never in Minnesota during the summer. I only went there during the winter for school.
That's right, that far north, it's not spring in the summer.
Yeah, I got to experience 30 below zero in Minnesota, where I had a snow shoveling job, so I only experienced Minnesota winters. But here in Colorado, lightning used to crack from cloud to ground lightning, and the intercom at work was like, please stay in the building due to lightning storms. I've never heard of that before.
What is this place, Florida?
Everyone started saying, why aren't you a meteorologist? And it's not the career path I chose in college, but it definitely is a passion for mine. I am working in international broadcasting, so I get to do video work and audio work. It's always changing. It's super fun, so at least I get my video passion out of the way, and then part-time I get to storm chase with the little brother. But I remember one particular story from our childhood. Actually, I was probably in college. Billy was a teenager at the time, and he called me up and said, I want to be a storm chaser and be the big sister, protected big sister I was.
I never said that.
You said that. You're like 14, and I said, no. People die that way.
I never thought there was any money in storm chasing growing up, though.
You're like, that's what I want to be. I want to chase storms.
I mean, of course, that was like, 17 years ago, so, I mean, what do I know?
I was like, that's how people die. You shouldn't do that. And our mom was like, Amber, hush up. He finally wants to be something.
Oh, goodness. That was even before I started YouTube at all.
Yeah, so you were probably young enough. You were doing video games day in and day out, and barely left the house like most teenagers. And she just was excited. You want to be something. She was just excited. You wanted to be something when you grew up someday. So at the same time, I think Mom also expressed interest of, I would storm chase too. And she probably did it.
Mom?
To just, yeah. Not like, I don't think she ever wanted to chase tornadoes, but she always thought it was really cool to get on the road and follow that storm through Montana. I mean, Montana's the big sky state, right? So
yeah, but the storms, at least in the Great Falls area, were lame.
But so she started talking positively about it. It probably was more to encourage Billy in his career choice, and so that started me being like, okay, maybe it wouldn't be so scary, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, it would be kind of fun. And then for some reason in college, I just got fanatic about every little storm that happened. I think I drove coworkers and friends nuts. But
Really?
Did you see that storm? Did you see that storm? Yeah, especially the people I stayed with a couple when I first moved out here, and they were like, "Would you come inside, please? Like, there's lightning out there." You can't
Right. All right. So that was when you were already in Colorado Springs.
That's when I was in Colorado Springs. Yeah, I've been here in Colorado Springs since 2007.
Okay.
So it has been a little while. But anyway, our stories obviously intersect a little. So Billy, why don't you share a little about your story?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So I guess my earliest memory of storms is when we would get a severe thunderstorm that would just be cracking bolts like in our neighborhood, and I would be like hiding under the blankets with my siblings. Now this is probably when I was like 7, and so, but it just felt like a game to me. I'm like, haha, this is kind of fun to be scared of storms. Like, I mean, we're in a house, we're totally fine. And our dad would teach natural disasters part-time at a local university. And so he had all of these VHS tapes, about earthquakes, about hurricanes, but oh man, the best ones were about tornadoes, because, those were the things that were just so photogenic. You could actually see them in action, as opposed to an earthquake way back then in the 90s was, there would be barely any footage, maybe just a kind of a shaky camera, or even with a hurricane. Yeah, sure. I mean, there just wasn't that great of footage back then. So it was the tornadoes that I was really interested in. And so on top of that, Mom and Dad would always just have the Weather Channel on whenever we'd go stay the night in a hotel room. So I guess that's what triggered it for me. And so...
Way back in the 90s, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and like I would just get so excited, even as a teenager, when storms would come through, and there would be any kind of chance for a severe thunderstorm, then I would just be so excited whenever that would come through. Man, there was just to think that I was excited over that kind of stuff as a kid. I was just like, man.
So I was the opposite of you. I did not think thunderstorms were a game back when I was little. In fact, I had quite the fear of them. Really? And I used to sit and cry in Mom's arms saying, "I think that's a tornado outside our window."
How old are you thinking you were?
Tornado. This was when we used to live in Billings, Montana. So I was under 9 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And we had these big 2-story high windows.
I may not have been born yet.
Yeah, you were born in 91. We moved in 93. So it was about the time you were a baby, if you were not born yet. But Mom had to talk to me a lot about fear and not being fearful, and in fact,
and embracing your fear, even chasing after it.
In fact, the day that Pi was born was a big storm event day, and I remember that day. In fact, Dad used to do film photography, and he had set his camera to take pictures in the delivery room while Billy was being born, and a massive storm front came through Billings, Montana, and Billings has this sheer rock cliff that towers over the city. We call it the Rim Rocks, and these massive waterfalls came cascading off the Rim Rocks. And I remember with our older brother, Peter, and we went to the Kmart parking lot, and we were wading through water that was knee deep, but there were houses getting flooded, and we just always remember that being a historic day. And look, it was the day that Pi was born.
Of course. Yeah, man, if only we still had some of those photos. Who knows where they are of that day.
Oh, I'm sure we can find some. Mm-hmm. Speaking of little Pi, so we have a great video. Why don't you cue that up, Billy? I know. You probably were 5 or 6 years old.
Let's see, sure. One second.
I can't believe we got this on video. We were visiting grandparents in Wisconsin. Mom is there blowing bubbles. Look, 1995. Back in the 90s.
95.
Oh, look at that.
Good dog.
That was a big storm.
Oh, goodness.
There's a big storm. Okay, you were only 3. 2 or 3. You were little, much littler than I thought you
Wow,
were.
yeah, man, I forgot. I didn't realize that you uploaded that Mother's Day video back in 2014.
Yeah, we videotaped our family endlessly on 8mm tape, so we probably still have 20 years of 8mm tape.
Man, I was thankful the day when we were able to switch over to an HD camcorder. Oh, goodness.
How did you do that crossfade from sharing screens to...
It's the default transition in OBS. Oh,
Mom called you an idiot? You could have gotten my real reaction on that one.
Oh no, I did.
Poor Mom. You're gonna make her embarrassed.
Anyway, so yes, this brings me to when we actually got a digital camcorder. It's still recorded on tape, but it was digital tape, the mini DV camcorder. So I just started going to town and just recording just every aspect of our lives over here. So on this, let me see if I can get your camera up here as well. There we go.
I don't think I remember this.
So this was in 2008, just after we got it, and
2008.
Yeah.
So I was already in Colorado at this time.
Yeah. So let's see. This is just another funny clip too. When a severe thunderstorm was going over us.
Getting wet, getting wet, getting wet. Whoa! Flash! Flash. Booyah! That was over there someplace.
It was right overhead. Oh, Dad. And no, that's not what overhead thunder sounds like. That's what a bolt that's striking in your neighborhood sounds like. And it wasn't long before I figured out how to speed up footage. So this is actually in the wintertime at some point. And this is a snow squall that is like perfectly illuminated by the sunset here. And so I've sped it up a little bit here, but let's speed it up even faster. And so this is just mini DV, and it's like shooting with interlacing, but this was incredible. And like my mom was like freaking out over this thing because it's just so well lit by the sun. We'd get snow squalls here every now and then too.
Wind, watch your camera. Yeah.
There's the mini DV camcorder right there. I wished I had left it out there for longer.
Look at right through the branches to the right of Slater's house. This is the closest looking to a tornado I've ever seen. Oh
Smear on the
man, look at that. Would you get the video camera in the house, please?
Yeah. So I'm glad I left it
Get
in
the
as long
camera.
as I did. But anyway, so this is what it looked like after it enveloped
Yeah.
us.
Good heavens.
Just sheets of like sleet or snowballs is what it was. So
What was it? Like grapple? Grapple's the other
maybe,
name.
yeah, I think it may have been grapple and whatnot. So that was our view.
Sounds like it.
Often from lots of storms that went over us.
Hey, wasn't that featured on some weather channel somewhere? Or was that one never picked up?
Not that one.
That one was never picked up.
That was actually, I think that is actually on my channel. Let me pull up that video. Yeah, so this one, we're jumping a little bit ahead into the timeline here. So this was, I posted this back way in 2012. So I had an HD camcorder at this point, but I got this on here, and man, this looks so much better, even though it's cropped in HD. So, and Strangest Weather on Earth actually contacted me and said, hey, we want to use your footage on here. And so let me pull up that video as well.
I was looking for their
seemingly
videos.
everlasting storm rages in Venezuela. In Montana, mountains morph and grow.
There it
Strange
is.
circles of ice.
And so then throughout this, they cut to it again here later on as they're talking about superior mirages.
And in Montana, the Highwood Mountains morph and grow.
Man, that's all the better quality I was able to record it, because we just had to record it off of her DVR, which was in full screen, so even then I had to crop out the top and the bottom. But still, they paid me $25 a second, which equated to be like $350 for everything that they used.
Wow, I don't remember it being that much. I thought
Yeah.
you got $40 for that thing.
Cha-ching. That's still to this day the best I've ever sold a video for. So hopefully that will change. But honestly, my focus is YouTube and whatnot too. So
I still got your beat. I sold a video for $400 once to Fox News.
$400. Where is this?
There it is. The
All right.
plume of smoke there next
So
to it.
how much did you get paid for this here?
No, this one's Waldo.
Oh, Waldo.
So Waldo's the year before.
All right. So how much money did you sell for? Whoa, that is right there.
Yeah. You've never watched my videos.
Sheesh. It's just been,
Yeah.
what, 7 years?
Yeah, this was a Black Forest fire in Colorado Springs in 2013, and it started only 5 miles from my work, so I'm zoomed in a little bit here. But the local news was broadcasting 24/7 with updates on this fire, and I time-lapsed for the first 24 hours, and you can scrub ahead there. They really like the time-lapse of the helicopters dropping smoke. But
oh my goodness.
it was an affiliate of KKTV, our local news, which was actually ABC, and they called me up and said, "We'll pay you $400. Can we use it? We need footage for our broadcast. We're running out of footage to play on this 24-hour broadcast." So, unfortunately, 500 homes were lost in this fire here in Colorado Springs. But I got you beat by a couple dollars. For a while, we were competing who could sell
Yeah, that's
more
the only
footage.
problem with storm chasing is it's so competitive to sell your footage that I just haven't done it yet. So, although there are other things, but once I
did learn a lesson in this. I tried calling other news affiliates and offering my footage, and they laughed at me when I said I got paid $400 by ABC, and they're like, "Ha! Nice try. We're not going to pay you that for this." So, I think the other affiliates weren't interested in competing.
Right. Well, I mean, it was breaking news at the time, so... So, growing up throughout all of this, it had always been my dream to see a tornado. And there was one time that I had flown down to visit Amber and shadow her at her job and whatnot. So, and eventually the family came and joined us later. And so they left 2 weeks after I got there, and then... the next day, I was going to fly up to them and meet them up in Billings. And that's when this happened.
Well, Mom and Dad said that there was a tornado. They just drove away and...
So this was in 2009, and my voice, I didn't know how to express it at the time, but I was incredibly jealous.
I guess it's in that storm, so they said...
This was north of Monument, Colorado, and so I put together like a whole presentation thing for our family video collection. So they spotted it up here north of Monument, and Castle Rock is somewhere up north. And so the tornado was moving to the east, and this is what they saw.
Hope it's not moving toward you guys.
A nice, well-defined cone from 13 miles away.
It's so pretty. That's 13 miles away.
13 miles away. They kept driving along the interstate, and eventually they decided to chase it. And so then they caught up to it up here. And it was
Don't put
roping
it on
out
the
at
Weather
that
Channel.
point. Yeah.
Send it into the Weather Channel.
Don't put it on the
That
Weather
was
Channel.
cute.
Hey, if you actually tried sending it to them, they might have been able to, but and so it just roped out there, and so I was so jealous that the best thing I could do, I included some other clips here from other news stations of other people that caught that tornado. And so actually, Amber, I actually looked up how to find archived radar today. And
Because
so-
we didn't know what we were doing back
No,
then.
no,
so-
like actually, like look at this. See, this was
Beautiful tornado.
look, this is all that we knew how to do to look at radar.
Monitor.
Just this
So
tiny
that's the
little
storm where it is,
report.
you know, just a little indent.
That's what it looked. That's all that we had access to.
Oh, nice. You knew to look for the indent. That's impressive.
No, that's not it. This is the hook down here. That's just two separate storms. So if we play it through, it's a little fast, but so this is June 15th, 2009, and for the first time ever,
Wow.
we're looking at this. animation settings. I finally figured out how to look at this stuff here. So there's the hook. What is that? Hail. That's the tornado. So we've got a little.
That's so close to my work. That's only. What did you say?
Albert County. See, there's Castle Rock right there. There's Monument.
Yeah. So that's like 15 miles north of where.
Tornado report reported by 2 different spotters, and so it looks like it kind of lost a little bit of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, it was still. So, did it lift? Let's look at velocity. I've never seen the velocity on this before, but there it is. Nice little. So it may have like no. So it may have touched down a couple of times when they were reviewing it, but oh, that is so cool! I had no idea that. I mean, it takes a lot of time to look at this archived radar, but.
Would you say velocity has improved since then? Or
no,
is this pretty typical?
This looks...
It's pretty comparable to today.
Yeah, this looks pretty similar, so, in terms of resolution. So, the Pueblo radar is down there, and whatnot.
That's really cool. We just had zero clue.
Zero clue on how to look at radar, stuff like that. Yeah, we had no idea where the hook was in that thing, and in this video, if it ever plays. Radar loops. That is not the right video. Wait.
I'm still using a tube monitor during that time.
It's a tube monitor?
Yeah, I'm sure. If you're looking at my work computer, I still had a tube monitor.
I was in the program window. That totally threw me off. Wait.
Ends in the red. Pathetic monitor.
Sure, that's my tube monitor.
But that's the storm where it is. Notice the little indent in the red.
The indent is not where the tornado is. Anyway.
That was 12 years ago. You gotta give yourself.
Yes. But even though I was so jealous, all I had to do was wait a day. So after I shared some videos from 9 News and whatnot of it, anyway. Eventually she took me to the airport. I flew home, and as we were coming home, so just as we're looking at the paper, remember when papers were a thing?
I thought you were gonna
Something about the tornado.
And so we just start looking out the window here, and up here. And right here, there's a little something.
Ask Amber if there's a C on the radar.
If there's a C.
Well, it may not be updated yet.
See?
Okay. We're calling them C's. But look at this little funnel cloud just sticking out there. So we pulled over and looked at it, and...
I was so jealous that was the second funnel you'd seen in 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
The family drove.
Jacob's on the phone with you right here.
Watching the clouds. Jacob's talking to Amber.
That's the 3rd tornado we've seen so far this year.
3rd?
Yeah.
Well, there's a possibility that the wide one was a different funnel than the skinny one.
It wasn't. At least from the other photos that were concerned.
Jacob has a flip phone, just pointing that out.
He does.
It wasn't that long ago.
There's a point where I speed it up here, but
Beepers.
there it is. So here's a little
Oh, I
time
see
lapse.
rotation. You do? Yes.
We got another tornado!
Not quite.
There's another tornado! Look at it!
Oh, wow.
Moving. It's spinning. I see it. It's dissipating.
2 in 1 day.
Well, this was the next day. So what do you think that was, Amber? I mean, it's obviously a funnel cloud, but what do you think it really was?
Well, considering... Okay, so you drove up to Montana, and if I remember right, it was only 50 degrees that day, which would make it cold air funnel.
That's what
we determined pretty
here.
early on.
Yeah, cold air funnels. So
I think even Mom and I discussed that. She's like, it was so cold, and we didn't know there was such a thing as cold air funnels. I think we had to Google it.
Yeah, so
yes,
it's
there's
just
still
like
Google.
So here's the radar from that day. So the airport was down here. We had drove up, and based on things like power lines and train tracks, we were somewhere on this road, this stretch. So I'm pretty sure we were right here. So looking at the radar. So we've got some precipitation that exploded. So I think it was either from one of these 2 storms. But if we look at the velocity here... Yeah, you've never seen this before. I hadn't seen it before until today either. There's like a little dinky thing right there. And so we can look at this at different tilts, and so it doesn't look like that it's noise, because I'm seeing it on many different tilts here. So, just so tiny. And even though the weather service was right there, there's not like a storm report or anything, but I mean, it's just like, you could barely see it. So I think we were viewing it from at this point on the road. So, well, I'm not certain that's it, because like, I mean, even down here, if you look at some of this stuff, like this, some of these rotations look a little more easier, but I'm pretty sure up here that was the storm, because we were viewing it from some point on this road, and I'm pretty sure.
That's the Billings, Montana radar you're looking at?
Yep. So, I finally at least got to see something rotating in the sky.
Unlike me, it took me many more years to see that.
Well, at least the next time is when we were actually together. Yeah, so we had just gone hiking on Mount Rosa over here, which is, what? Is Mount Rosa right here?
Yeah, it's in the clouds. It's a nice sharp point.
Nice. So it's in the clouds, and see, look at this.
We got a funnel! Look at that! No way! Good thing we're not. Wow! Wow! That is a distinct funnel. We'll pull off here.
Yep, and so we eventually pulled off. I set up a time-lapse camera. Is this it?
Decent video.
Nope. It's a time-lapse. Is this the time-lapse here?
Terrible still there.
That's recording.
There we go.
There we go.
Just swirling there.
We had to stop our hike that day because it started to thunder on us.
Yeah. So the reason why we had our cameras on us is because we were just hiking that afternoon.
And I wanted to surprise Billy by getting him an ice cream cone at McDonald's, and he's like, "Where are we going?" He was so mad at me. He was like, "I'm exhausted. I want to go home." I took him on this 6-mile hike. It's like starting to thunder and rain, so we quickly book it off the trail. And I didn't tell him I was going to McDonald's. I was like, "I just want to buy you ice cream." So that's why we were at that intersection. We had cones in each hand, and you're like, "Can I get out of the car? Can I go time lapse?" I'm like, "Sure." So we were at a red light, and he jumps out of the car, grabs the tripod out of the back seat. The guy behind us is like, "What are they? What are they doing?" And then I can see in my rearview mirror, they're like, "Look, I think
this is what it looks like from up on Pikes Peak. Like, that's just...
Yeah, we should have...
That's just
been on the pod.
Yeah, that would have been amazing to see it from up there. So, tons of different people got angles of this thing that was just hanging out up there. And so this one may have been, it looks like that's close enough. That's probably on the ground. That's probably a legit, like, either land spout or cold air funnel or whatever it was. It's 14,000 feet high, so I don't know how you'd classify it. So these were the storms that day. We had a big outflow boundary coming from this severe thunderstorm up here. But otherwise, it was just some puny little storms. I mean, I guess we can go up in tilts to see it higher, to see more of the... No, that doesn't even make it a whole lot better. So if we...
outflow boundaries.
Yeah. So maybe those had something to do with it, but according to the timestamps on my file that day...
Look at that severe storm to our north, too. Like, you would think that was the producer.
Yeah, you would think that was doing it, but it was about 2:15 in the afternoon, and so that would leave about this radar scan right here. Although normally the Pikes Peak shows up as precipitation all the time on the radar anyway, so we have to kind of look up.
It's so tall.
But this is when it should have happened, so I guess that was it right there. The 1.4 degrees where
Ooh, cool.
We can see it. Cool. So this would have been as it was materializing. So that just goes to show you, out of all these cold air funnels or shear air funnels or whatever they're called, or landspouts, it's just like we would just need higher resolution radar for the Storm Prediction Center or for the Weather Service offices to see this, because...
So did one of those outflow boundaries go over Pikes Peak?
Eventually it does, because, see, here's the outflow boundary from this storm. So eventually it kind of swoops down and goes towards it. So, but it wasn't...
You can also see You can also see why it started raining on us and we had plenty of time to drive to McDonald's. It looks like it lingered there for a while.
It was raining. Well, I mean, this was just before we saw it. Like, it just barely starts here. The Denver radar doesn't show too much different story. It's a slightly lower resolution from that day. And so, go to velocity. So, there might be a blip or two there, but...
This continued the brother-sister competition, too, because you were able to get on the news.
Yes, so after I posted it to YouTube, I got, actually, first things first, I sent it to the news, and
out of the clouds.
there I am.
Shot some amazing video today, a funnel cloud on Pikes Peak.
Yep, so it was the local news station there, and then eventually I got contacted from a production company in the UK that was working for the Weather Channel, and so...
yeah!
Sitting on a rise 30 feet above the surrounding area.
Yep, so we've got Tornado Alley here. So they're talking...
Lots of topographic changes.
This is it could happen tomorrow.
Yeah, so they're talking about how tornadoes can even be in the mountains, so here.
Later, a record-setting twister was witnessed at 14,000 feet at Pikes Peak.
We got a funnel! Peak! Wow! That is a distinct funnel.
Yep, they like the shaky part, apparently.
That the effects of hills...
Okay,
yeah, so that time I got $50 for that one.
Well, so, okay, you might have me beat now. Phil, that puts you over 400. But I remember soon after we were driving up to Cheyenne, Wyoming to meet our parents.
Yeah.
Dad is a geologist, and he was there for a conference. And we get up to Cheyenne, we knock on their hotel room, and Mom opens the door, and she's looking wide-eyed. She said, "That was really weird. I just heard both of your voices on the television on the Weather Channel." Look at, they had been showing that show, and there we were.
Yep, there we were. Eventually, they were also in Colorado again, and they saw...
You can see this, but there's a funnel cloud.
This was when? 2014, so the year later.
Ooh, look at it, it's building again.
That, we didn't know at the time,
I don't remember...
You don't remember
They
this?
saw another funnel?
This is a tornado. No, this is a tornado.
Montana or Colorado?
Colorado. They were coming back after visiting us again.
They saw another one the next year?
Yeah.
It's between the two clumps of trees, right in the middle.
Yep.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that at all? That is totally a landspout tornado. And I had no idea at the time. And I'm like, how do you keep getting so lucky? And I still had yet to see my own tornado! So that's when we finally started taking matters into our own hands.
So it's making more sense to me now why it became more important for me to also storm chase. If our parents saw more tornadoes than us, I knew we had to get out.
In Colorado, no less! They live in Montana. So here we go in... This was
look at that cloudy
2014. So this was about a month before that landspout.
We're storm chasing.
Yeah, so at this point, I was visiting Amber for the summers in between semesters at school. So, yep, we just started chase. Like, this was just a supercell that was off in the distance, and we just decided to go up Highway 24 and chase it. So we had a grand old time. Oh, did some time lapses, got some shelf clouds. So
this is the one where we filmed I think we filmed Plowable Hail, and the news did pick that video footage up from me.
We're picking up hailstones here.
I don't think I've ever seen one that big before. No, right.
But this was actually not the first time that I actually went storm chasing.
I don't remember any of the...
Yeah, I actually went on my first storm chase in Montana.
Well, here's the storm. Wow. Look at this. It's too bad I didn't get time lapse of this right away. Look at that thing right there.
Look at that! That looks just like a clear slot right there.
Yeah.
This was in June 2012, so I was still living in Montana.
And this is what it looks like over on the left.
And look at this.
Pretty.
I mean,
nice supercell.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a shelf cloud, but I'm pretty sure it's like the edge of a mothership, so a mesocyclone. So I did some time lapses here, and yeah. So
Cool.
got some of the turbulence up in the base of the cloud. And so I saw this on radar, and I'm like, ooh, it's a severe thunderstorm, and like, I have my driver's license now. I'm gonna go drive down the interstate. I mean, it was only like 10 miles away, so, but this is definitely my first storm chase. I was like, is this thing gonna drop a tornado or anything? Yeah, I think this is I think that was a clear slot right there. So that could have,
turquoise sky.
Nice
green skies.
Cloud. So that was probably the closest thing ever to one.
Do you remember where?
So we live in this area of Great Falls. I literally just drove up to here, so it was just a little bit farther north.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't actually. The storm passed Great Falls. It didn't hit the sea.
It may have hit Great Falls. It was moving pretty slow. And so, Amber, that leads us to 2015. So, why don't you tell us why we decided to go to southeastern Colorado on May such and such 2015?
Look at that cool tornado. I already forgot. So I was watching the local news forecast, and they said it's a Torcon 7 today for eastern Colorado.
7.
It was a 7, and I knew that was big, so we better go. It must have fallen on a weekend because I didn't have to work. So we planned that we would just go. Billy had an app that started to show him where all the storm chasers were.
Oh, yes, back when Reed Timmer had his little live storm chasers website.
Like, I want to go to Kansas. That's where all the chasers are. And I was like, no, I want to watch Colorado tornado. I've always wanted to see Colorado tornado. Probably because our parents saw Colorado tornadoes. And besides, Kansas tornadoes are scarier than Colorado tornadoes.
Sure they are.
So we're driving in southeastern Colorado. We go through La Junta, and we stop to gas up and to get lunch. And when we were coming into town, we passed a little storm forming to our west, and we could tell there was some scud. We knew the term scud back then.
Did we?
Yeah, we were like, look, there's scud there. And we're like, we could see this whole storm.
It's puny on radar.
Puny on radar. So we went and did lunch in La Junta, and while we were sitting there, Billy's getting more and more anxious. We gotta start chasing. Like, the chasers are in Kansas. And You'll have to tell me what your app started to say while we were sitting there at McDonald's.
Well, I mean, there were a few chasers here in Lamar, Colorado, and as
Lamar?
Yeah, we were in.
Sorry, I was saying La Junta.
Yeah, we were in Lamar.
So should I?
No, that's fine. So we, but this storm kept intensifying, and I was like looking at their live streams, trying to see what they were looking at and whatnot. And let's see.
It's that cute, puny little storm to our north that we had just passed.
Yeah. Yep, and there it goes. It started dropping a funnel cloud, and then everyone in Kansas started driving into Colorado at that point.
There's a tornado!
Yep.
And here we could see it just from the town we were at.
Yeah, it was just hanging out there in the distance.
The cloud is puny.
Look at that puny little cloud. There's not even an anvil
big
to it.
argument about whether or not to go into Kansas, and she's like, "Let's turn around."
A big argument.
Yep. Dude, it was a bad argument. I was mad.
No, it wasn't. I want to stay here. I want to go. I want to stay here.
So anyway, go ahead and continue.
That's at the time Billy didn't have a car, so that argument was more about, it's my car, I get to drive where I want. But this little storm produced, and we unfortunately were pretty far behind. It was already 10 miles to our north, and we spent the next half hour to 45 minutes just trying to catch up to this storm.
Yep. Oh, I gotta love that old
looks like
cheap royalty-free music.
Right now.
Well, and it became one of the more photogenic storms too, right?
Oh yeah, that was absolutely photogenic. Where's the... Who are we watching here? Kelly Williams.
I produced another one, but we're in Eads right now.
Going through town, so it's pretty much stayed on the ground for what, 45 minutes that day? So we were able to
no, there was like 3 or 4 tornadoes. I'd have to look at Skip Talbot's video to see how it is. There it is.
Great saturation.
No, that's just contrast.
Still hard to tell. There. See it, it's there right above the grass. I remember feeling super excited, like, I actually am seeing my first tornado! And I'm trying to drive, and Billy's like, keep driving. Turns into this wedge. Look at that thing.
That's the cone.
Whatever. I think at the time I was like, it's a wedge. We were a little excited.
Yeah.
But we never really could catch up to it. By the time we got close, it kind of fizzled right in front of us. Look at that pretty thing.
Yep.
From that little scud cloud that we passed by that first day. In Colorado, we've learned that storms start out of nothing and they go and they can produce tornadoes within half an hour.
If we had just stayed on the storm when it started going up. Let's see, where is that? It's somewhere up here. But yeah. Anyway, here's the tornado probabilities for that day with storm reports. So you can see the tornado reports there in Colorado.
Wow, so
there was still a ton there in Kansas too, though.
Most people probably were down in Texas. Interesting.
Oh yeah, there's a moderate risk. Wow, that was a really active day for storm chasing. I had no idea. Let's see, what were the tornado probabilities?
It was a Torcon.
There we go. Oh, that was a 10%. So that's within 20.
Well, and we've learned since then that the Torcon is the Weather Channel's forecasting, but the 10% is the NOAA Weather's forecasting. So we've learned to tell the difference.
SPC's forecasting.
Forecasting.
But yeah, so that pretty much brings us up until today. I guess I could talk about that in 2018. My grandparents gave me their Prius, and so I originally bought the Prism that we were driving in that video there. And that was,
My car.
I went on one storm chase when I went to school in Missouri, and it was a big moderate risk day. It was February 28th, 2017, and like an hour into it, the check engine light came on, and I wasn't seeing anything, and there were trees everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know what it's doing!
Hey, that check engine light was part of the car. It came on after I drove through a flooded street, so, you know.
Oh, so that was your fault, huh?
Well, yeah, I ruined the catalytic converter like ages before, but that car was gonna give you a good $100,000.
Let me see that, because that was before I even knew that the SBC issued probabilities. So I just went out there. I'm like, oh, there's a moderate risk. Maybe I should go look at it, because I just started following like Reed Timmer at that point, and he was showing these links from the SBC. So here's the moderate risk that I tried tracing in that day on pretty early in the season, and I probably got to about here. But as you can see from the tornado reports, there were a few north, but I was probably in this area, and yeah, I was like right there, right in that little tornado gap. Man, how many reports? 76 tornado reports that day. My goodness. All right, so this is how my check engine light came on.
Okay, we'll have to fast forward it a little bit, but
is that hail?
Yeah.
That was hail. Okay then.
All right, let's go back to your screen here. All right, so this is the day that the check engine light came on. I was taking a lunch break, and plowable hail just came. It hailed the entire time I was in the restaurant. So Billy, if you can scroll ahead to 2 minutes 11 seconds. Oh, let's go 2 minutes 14 seconds. And I probably should not have driven through this.
Oh, you're even filming people as they do it.
Yeah, I did not have a dash cam then. And I was like, I shouldn't drive. I had to gun it. This is a little Chevy Prism that is so low. What happened is the hail clogged the sewer, so this underpass just flooded. And yeah, from that day forward.
Well, I've driven through floodwaters like that a bunch of times. Maybe that. Well, actually, come to think of it, my check engine light has come on a few times too.
You had nothing to worry about. Check engine light coming on, but it took me 2.5 hours to drive 3 miles back to work that day. They had to wait for the snow plows to come out and get rid of the hail. I tried doing back roads. It just was stopped traffic. So another crazy Colorado weather event. And my house is only 4 miles south of where I was eating lunch that day, and there was no hail at my house. So this just dumped over one little 4-mile radius. And I was thankful because I'm a gardener, and everything would have been shredded.
Shredded, yep. Absolutely. Yeah, so, and then after that, once I finally got the Prius, that's when, oh, that's right, there was also this. We chased this, what was this? I forget what was this.
Was this hours.
2016? This storm here, too. We just barely caught a tornado.
I'm not seeing it.
Right, yeah. Okay, here we go. So, we caught this mothership out there. It just barely dropped a mothership.
But now we started feeling like real storm chasers at this point.
Well, storm chasers, I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. But the wedge tornado was finally the first time that I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I saw there was a 10% day in Kansas. And so, but, you know, there's that whole video that you guys can watch if you hadn't seen it yet. And so that's when I first started seriously chasing. I probably went on a dozen chases that year in 2018. Now I think I've been on like 50 chases this year. So this has been SkyPi. I appreciate you guys bearing with us through our current camera quality. And next week, though, will be a more traditional episode. So to give you a little teaser, we'll be doing an analysis of the glider that flew around the funnel cloud and even whether or not if that's safe to do. We'll also look at the land spout that touched down just north of Denver. Man, we were so close to that. Why couldn't we have just been up there?
Zero prediction that day.
Even radar, it just barely shows up by the time the first reports start coming in. So we'll have that and more news stories to share with you guys. And so until then, I hope you guys enjoy the series, and we'll give it a trial run for the next few weeks, and we'll be posting at least bi-weekly, although the next week will be the next episode. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.